Hello and welcome to All Villa No Filler. We're here to preview Villa's upcoming year and make our predictions for what lies ahead. Will Villa win a trophy after 27 years of hurt? Can Professor Unai mastermind a Premier League title charge? Dare we to dream? But before we get to that, Frankie, how have you been?
I've been very good, George, because I was at your wedding day.
That's right. We've been talking about it for some time, Frankie, but it's
Mm,
finally here. It's finally come and gone. Did you have a nice time?
absolutely fantastic. I think the best thing I've ever seen at any wedding ever was that you named every table after one of your favourite Villa players.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I take it as a great compliment that I was sat at the Maguire table.
Yes, and that was a conscious decision to do that, Frankie. I know, he's one of our best ever players. God
Oh,
to
yeah.
many, God
Yeah.
to many, God to you. So yeah, I thought, well, I got to put Frankie Maguire on that table. So did you enjoy it, Frankie?
I did indeed. It was a fantastic day, George. The food was absolutely exquisite. I think the suits, didn't we all look good, George, didn't we?
We did look
Hey,
great. We look
champagne grenadine time on tour.
we looked like the Spice Boys, didn't we?
We did,
The
yeah.
Liverpool FA Cup team of 95, 96, was it?
Yeah, yeah. I
Good
guess
stuff.
which one would I? Who's like Jamie Redknapp? One of them? Would you be
That's
David
right.
James? Slightly
I'll be
calamitous.
David James, Steve McManaman, take your pick.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. Who else was in that? Grobbelaar, was he in that?
Grobbelaar,
Bruce
maybe. Oh, I
Grobbelaar,
can't imagine
maybe?
he wouldn't
No.
look that sharp in a sort of, what was it, a beige suits, wasn't it?
Yeah, Phil Babb. Phil
Phil
Babb,
Babb,
the white
yeah,
suits, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I felt like a good old Spice Boy there.
excellent.
Yeah, well, but what a great day, George. Did you have a good time? That's the key
I
question.
did, Frankie. I did. I'm glad you picked up on the table names. I knew you would. I knew you would.
Yeah.
I think it was Rasheen Mendonça, formerly of this parish,
Oh yeah.
as they say, one of the founders of this fabled podcast, who came up to you and said, "Oh, Frankie, have you seen the table names?"
Hmm.
I saw it. There was a glint. There was a glint in her eye.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was great. That was the one thing about the wedding I put my foot down on.
Hmm.
You can have what you can have I said to Rosie, I said you can have a band or a DJ, you can have whatever food you want. You can invite whoever you want. But Frankie's got to come, obviously.
Yeah.
She didn't want you to come, Frankie, but I said no, Frankie's coming.
Yeah.
But so there were two things I put my foot down on. I said you coming, and then I said the table names have got to be Villa players. And to be fair, she relented very, very quickly. She
That's
said,
good to
"You
hear.
know what? If you're that passionate about it, go on then." And then
Yeah.
she said, "Can we call one of the tables Melberg?" So,
And
so
you
we
were on
did.
the Grealish table, George. You're on the
I
good
was,
side.
well, controversial perhaps to some Villa fans. I just thought, I think for me now, he's moved to Man City. It's a bit water under the bridge, and I can look back and respect him as someone who was integral to us coming back up. A local lad, done good. What a player! Got us £100 million in the kitty, and
Yeah.
has turned us kind of into the team we are now. So we've certainly improved since he's gone. So I thought, you know what, we'll be table Grealish. We'll take that one.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
just like you, George, local lad who's done good. Uh,
that's me, Frankie.
I'm local lad muddling along, hoping something comes off one day.
It will, Frankie. Just keep
One day.
at it. You'll
Yeah.
you'll be doing all right.
You should have named all the tables after the different Villa podcasts. There's like about a million of them. So you're gonna
Yeah, I know that's true. I just named it All Villa No Filler, All Villa No Filler
yeah,
One, All Villa No Filler
yeah,
Two.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've looked back at the wedding. Let's look ahead now. The
Mm,
wedding's done. Forget about it.
yeah.
It's all about Villa. It's all about the new season.
Until the next one.
Until the next one. So tell you what, Frank, how are you feeling about Villa this season?
Well, George, justified optimism, belief that we're going to win the Premier League title, belief that we could actually win a trophy rather than sort of hoping we might just get top half. It's George, what Professor Unai Emery has done to this football club, revitalizing us, making us believe. It is an incredible time to be an Aston Villa fan. Absolutely. Everything we saw from the moment Unai Emery came in the door, particularly from around January time, when we went on that crazy sort of winning run, right through to the end of the season, to getting into Europe, to pre-season, where we've seen some tactical adjustments, some impressive performances. Everything about it just suggests to me that there's no reason we shouldn't be excited. Now, look, I'm not saying we're going to go and win 10 in a row at the start of the season. I'm not saying we're going to go to Newcastle and win 5-0 or whatever, but there's every reason to believe that over the course of the season, Aston Villa can do something quite special. We have a super strong midfield now, super strong defence. There's one or two areas where I'd like a bit more strength and depth, namely up front and in goal. But overall, there's no reason to look at Villa's squad and think it can't compete with anybody really, on their day over the course of the season. Of course, things will level itself out. I'm not sure we'll quite break into the Champions League places, but if we did, I wouldn't be surprised. That's kind of how I feel about Aston Villa now. When a year ago it was, more of a hopeful, like maybe we can get top half. Maybe Stevie Big Bollocks can, Big Bollocks his way up to the top half of the table, make us believe. But no, it's a manager who clearly has a plan for every game, buys players with an idea in his head of what he wants to do with them. Everything about it that I'm seeing at Villa right now makes me feel quite excited. Well, makes me feel very excited about what could potentially happen this season. So, George, are you as elated as I am at the prospect of this season?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw with Newcastle under Eddie Howe when he came in after Steve Bruce was dispensed with. He had half a season and he rocketed them up the table, very much like Unai did once Stevie G left Villa Park. And then in his first full season, he got them Champions League football, didn't he? So, there's no reason to say that Unai Emery can't do that with Villa. It's going to be a huge challenge, but we've strengthened in all the right areas. And to be honest, I kind of feel like, if the season started today and if the transfer window's shut, I'd be very happy with our business. I think, just bringing in those kind of three main players really in Torres, Diaby and Tielemans, that's really strengthened the squad. And it is about strengthening the squad. It's not just about the starting 11. It's about the players on the bench, the impact players who can come off and make a difference. I think we've kind of got enough there. I would obviously like to see more, and I think we will see more. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's in those forward areas, either the wingers or up front to support Ollie Watkins. That would be nice, and perhaps a goalkeeper to kind of maybe push Martinez. But I think Emery's come out and said he's happy with Olsen, and if, as we said before, Frankie, whatever Emery's happy with, I'm happy with. So if Emery's happy with Olsen, then that's fine for us to start the season with Olsen as the number 2. But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to the season, as I was at the start of last season. Obviously, that didn't start so well, but I do think we'll get off to a good start. I've been very encouraged by our pre-season performances as well. So everything is ticking along quite nicely. And yeah, no, really looking forward to it, and just can't wait for that season opener against Newcastle to start. So on that note, then, Frankie, you were saying I wouldn't be surprised about where we could finish. Whether we would finish in the top 6, for example. So if you could nail a place down for Villa to finish based on everything we've just said, where do you think we'll end up come May next year?
If I try to predict where Villa are, I think because of the tactical tweaks we've seen in pre-season, there might be some teething issues. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the opening weeks of the season, we maybe have 1 or 2 slightly underwhelming results compared to what we're hoping for. But that once it clicks, Villa will be really, really hard to stop. And we'll probably get up to speed a little bit quicker than some other teams because of European competition. So we're going to play more. But eventually that will level itself out because, if we go far in Europe or we go far in a few different competitions and the game volume increases, I could see Villa maybe leveling out sort of around March time. It seems to be the haunted period for Villa where February was where we would always fall apart under O'Neill, and happened under Gregory as well, didn't it? So I think the test for Villa is if we start well and we're in contention, for Champions League places by February. It's about overcoming that sort of hoodoo, isn't it? And the one thing with Unai Emery is that with him, we've overcome those hoodoos constantly, haven't we? We've, Manchester United, we haven't beaten them for a million years, beat them. Various other results like, going away to West Ham, places like that we kept losing all the time to Tottenham, beat Tottenham at home for the first time in a million years, didn't lose at West Ham. Just little things like that these sorts of curses have been ending under Emery. So I'm going to dare to dream that they end this season, though I do think that the fact that we haven't played in Europe for a long time is probably going to affect us a little bit just as we get used to that again. But the squad depth is there in the centre and defence. It's just if Watkins gets injured or Martinez, I sort of worry that that's really going to cost us. So I'm going to say, with all that in my head, I actually think Villa could even potentially finish as high as 3rd, daring to dream.
Wow, okay.
But I don't think we will. I think I'm going to say 6th, though that could even be underselling it a little bit. But Sixth would still be a very, very good finish to the season, though, 5 Champions League places available this season. So why not? Why not go for it? But I think we might just finish 6th. How about you, George?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think what has to be taken into account is, first of all, Unai Emery as a manager, he is used to playing in Europe and domestically. He's every club he's been at, basically, he's experienced both, competing on multiple fronts. And he said that, he said before that that's what he enjoys doing. That's what he likes to do as a manager. That's what, as I say, he's used to doing. The players might not be used to it, but Emery as a manager is. So I think, that does have to be taken into account. There have been some people saying, well, Villa are going to struggle to compete on all fronts and might struggle in the Premier League as a result of playing in Europe. I don't think that's going to be as big a factor as some people are suggesting based on that, which I hope is true. Yeah, I mean, player for player, it's difficult for us, for me, to see us finishing below 7th. Mm-hmm. I just can't see it. I think there's a number of clubs as well around that sort of from first down to 7th who are kind of restructuring in many ways. Will Brighton have as good a season as they did last year? Obviously, they're losing a lot of key players, but we know how good they are at replacing players. So, and they've got De Zerbi, a manager who's done really well in his spell in charge of Brighton. So, how will they perform this year? Newcastle, obviously, they're strengthening, but they haven't spent as much as maybe people would have predicted they would have spent. I think Eddie Howe has also said that they've got to manage their finances, which sounds a bit remarkable. But if that's the case, then that could slow them down in terms of their progress. Chelsea still seems to be a bit of a work in progress, and Cuckoo, their new signing, has suffered a major injury today. He's out for 4 months. How is that going to impact them this season? And Spurs, again, will they lose Kane? So a lot of teams around us seem to be going through a bit of a sticky spell, whereas we just seem to be strengthening. There's only positive vibes coming out of Villa at the moment.
Yeah.
So all the stars seem to be aligning for us to have a really good season next season. So, and as you say, 5th is the place to squeak into Champions League football. I think Emery will look at that as the target. His target was Europe, and we got into Europe. I wonder whether his target will be Champions League in that 5th place spot, and I think we'll finish 5th. So I think we're going to finish 5th, Frankie. That's my prediction for this year.
Well, isn't that an amazing change from the last couple of years where we've been predicting it, and it's been like, well, maybe top half. Another season been like, I think we won't get relegated, and this season it's like Champions League.
Yeah, I know. Because the thing is, I think we like to temper our hopes, Frankie. Generally speaking, we don't think, like there are some Villa fans that think, oh yeah, we can nail Champions League football this year, or even mount a title charge. I genuinely don't believe that, but I just do think, based on the balance of everything, as I've said, I do genuinely think we're ready made for a really, really strong season. So yeah, I'm going to be optimistic and say with realism, based on what I've said, and say 5th.
Yeah, and actually, just one quick point as well. Actually, we mentioned West Ham. People think of them last season in the Conference League; they won it, but they actually struggled in the Premier League. But the season before, they got to the semi-final of the Europa League, and did really well in the Premier League. So there's no reason we can't look at their squad and what they did, and our manager and their manager, and think we can't do the same as they did that season.
Absolutely, I agree. And then you look at quality teams like Man City, Arsenal. Man City actually, they did it all last year, didn't they? It can be done. There's no such thing as doing well in one part of the season and doing badly in another. So I'm hopeful that we can do that. Okay, so can we push for a trophy?
Yes, and I think we're going to win a trophy. That's my, again, I'm going to say it. Look, for too long I've been an Aston Villa fan who is just, we're going to survive. We're going to be all right. We might do something surprising this season. I'm saying, under Professor Unai Emery, we're going to do it this season. We're going to make it past the 3rd round of the FA Cup. We're going to do it. Even when we draw Man United at Old Trafford, we are going to get past them. I'm going to say, I can't remember if Unai Emery ever won the Copa del Rey in Spain. I'm not sure if he ever did, actually. Obviously, the Europa League is his playground, but I'm not sure. So FA Cup is sort of the equivalent of that. I'm going to say Man City and Villa get to the final of the Carabao Cup if we don't meet each other before. And can we beat City in a final? I just don't know. But I'm going to say Villa win a trophy, and I think it's going to be the Conference League. That's my prediction. I'm daring to dream, George. West Ham, Claret and Blue won it. Aston Villa this season. It'll be Burnley the season after. We got to keep the Claret and Blue dream alive. So
the flag flying.
Conference League, here we come.
Yeah, I think a lot of commentators have said Conference League is a realistic ambition for Villa. I think Jamie Carragher said that on a Sky Sports show the other day. I would agree. I mean, I'd love to win a domestic trophy. Obviously, it's been 96 was the last cup that we won against Leeds, and we came close-ish, I guess, against Man City a couple of years ago, didn't we? Dean Smith led us to the Carabao Cup final there. I'd love to win a domestic trophy. But I think, given Unai's track record in Europe, given, the excitement that will be around the team, we will take thousands and thousands of fans across Europe. And I think that will give the team a big boost as well. So I think, to be honest, the competition is probably, dare I say it, slightly easier to manage. Maybe the quality of teams, particularly in the Premier League, is so strong that I think if you played more than half the teams in the Premier League in Europe, they would go pretty far. Whereas I think, if you're playing teams in, no disrespect, but teams in Switzerland or teams in even some teams in Italy or some teams in Croatia, do you know what I mean? You think we can,
George, but it is that risk though, George, of
it is that risk.
You go to somewhere like Besiktas and it's that noise and being in a foreign environment and playing on a Thursday night. That is, I think, even if you are probably man for man the better team, it's still, there's something about it it's different.
It's different. It is different. But and to be fair to West Ham, at least they had a year's worth of experience playing in Europe before, which could make all the difference. But yeah, I mean, as I say, we've got a manager who's been there and done it multiple times before, and you'd like to think that he can channel that experience to help the players. And yeah, okay, they haven't played in domestic European competition, but we have a team that is full of internationals. They've played overseas multiple times. They've played in those sorts of atmospheres, high pressure. So I'm still confident. I'd love a domestic trophy, but I think your Conference League is the trophy that we can target. So hopefully that can be in the bag. Look at us, Champions League qualification and a trophy.
It's going to be embarrassing when we listen back to this in 3 weeks after Hibs have knocked us out 3-0 at Villa Park.
I know. John McGinn in tears. Tears of joy for Hibs. Yes. Right, so who's the key man, Frankie? Who's going to propel us to Champions League football and the trophy?
You know what I like about this Villa team is that every player feels like a key man. That's a bit of a cop-out answer, isn't it? But everybody feels like they have such a crucial role. There are some players that I feel you'll miss more than others. I particularly think Ollie Watkins comes into that primarily because the depth isn't there at his position at the moment. We've all just got to be patient with Archer and Duran because they're both young, they're both talented, and I think they can both play in the Premier League, particularly Archer.
I do think they've got a part to play. And the problem is, it's the Harry Kane conundrum. It's like we have one star striker who is due to start every game, but who's of good enough quality, but is also happy to sit on the bench most weeks. It's difficult to find that player, isn't it? So I'm more than happy to settle with Cameron Archer as someone who could perhaps come on and make a difference. But we'll still see. There's plenty of time left in the transfer window. We might make some more moves.
And finding that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Exactly.
Ole Gunnar Watkins. But I think I think I'm going to go with, there's two players, I think. John McGinn, Douglas Luiz. And the only reason I say that is because I think the two of them have reached incredibly high levels under Unai Emery. I think most players have improved under Emery, barring one or two. But I think those two really have reached a level that I think we'd forgotten how good they were. Ezri Konsa as well, I think is going to have a key part this season, considering he's going to play a lot of right back, I think, and a lot of centre back. And again, he's another player who I think should be playing for England very, very soon. But I think I'm going to go that I think McGinn's going to be a talismanic player this year. And because he's going to be more progressive, I think he's going to get more goals and assists this season. And I also think that he's going to be a key player to link midfield, defense, and attack. So I just think he's going to be a big role this year. But then I'm going to go Douglas Luiz as the main man, just because, player of the season last season. I think it's going to be the same again. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player, a subtly brilliant player, subtly imaginative, somebody who's able to create space for himself in ways that you think it's almost hard to see how he did it. But he just does it, with drag backs and the way he or two links defense and the forward line. He's a super player, and I think again, will be a regular Brazil international just going by his talent, and a player who, if I was to say who do I think a Man City might think, I'm going to throw £100 million at Aston Villa for somebody, it won't be 100 million, but he's somebody who I think a lot of teams would want. He's very good. So I'm hoping that he's the man who can help lead us on to the Champions League and stay with us for many years.
Yeah, well, you picked the two players that I was thinking of as well.
Right.
I think, yeah.
Like a spicy question. We always bloody agree.
I know. I mean, you've gone for Luiz as the one player. If we are picking one, it sounds like you've gone with Luiz, who, absolutely, he's under Emery. We've seen a slow progression from Douglas Luiz, which I think was always expected, wasn't he? When we signed him, he was a bit of a rough gem. That's why Man City inserted that buyback clause, because they knew of his talent, they knew of his potential. And, they were always going to contemplate bringing him back. Luckily, that time kind of expired. I think at the time, Man City didn't maybe need him. So they moved on to other things and the buyback clause expired. Thank God for that, because he has become that player. That's not to say Man City, that's going to stop Man City buying him back at some point for a ludicrous fee, because I think he has reached that level. He can certainly play for a team like Man City, certainly a team in the Champions League for sure. He's just become brilliant, and I've seen him a lot in pre-season. I know it's just pre-season, but he just turns it on like a tap. It's so easy for him to become this kind of like world-beating midfielder. The pass he played through for, I think it was Ollie Watkins's goal against Valencia. Was it Valencia? Another goal in pre-season he got an assist for was just phenomenal. It was kind of like that kind of quarterback pass sort of through the lines of the defense, and Watkins went on to score. So he's brilliant. But for me, I think it's John McGinn. I think second season now as captain, but without the drama that came when he was given the captaincy under Gerrard. He's now kind of a settled leader. He'll be playing in a different kind of position from what he did under Gerrard, much more offensive, and have much more of an influence in scoring goals, which is what he was doing before kind of Gerrard decided to play him as a more defensive player. And yeah, I think, as you say, he'll be that link between the midfield and attack. He's got, as we all know, he can score goals. He scored a beautiful goal against Walsall in pre-season. I expect to see more of that from him this season. An incredible goal against Chelsea last season. That sort of just outside the box.
Yeah.
Some theatrical goals I think I'm expecting from him. And I just think this is his time now. This is his time where he's been at the club for a number of seasons. He was desperate for European football, and he's got up with Villa. He's integral for Scotland at international level. And yeah, I just think this season is ready made for him to just take it by the scruff of the neck and deliver, literally kind of 8, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 performances sometimes for Villa week in, week out. I think he's got it in his locker. He looks fresh, he looks ready, and I think he's the man that can deliver it for us.
Lovely stuff.
Right, so we move on to the next question. Any breakthrough player potential? Who's there to kind of break through?
Well, I think pre-season's sort of giving the game away on that front, hasn't it? I think the two you'd look at, Jaden Philogene, obviously, is the number one performer in pre-season. He did very well at Cardiff last season, Young Player of the Year there. You can see why he was linked with a lot of big clubs a few years ago. I think PSG, Bayern Munich, teams like that were after him. A late developer, an interesting story as to how he got, made it into professional football. And
Liverpool have been linked with him very recently. I don't know if you've seen the reports of that.
I did see that. They seem to like the look of our players. I know Jacob Ramsey is a player Liverpool genuinely do want, but I know of people who work within Liverpool media world and football world who've told me Ramsey's a player Liverpool really do like. And Quite frankly, Ramsey's a player that he's out till September, isn't he? But once he comes back and he can get up to full fitness, I look forward to seeing how high he can go this season as well. He's just, so young, gets better and better every year. But breakthrough, I think Jaden Philogene is obviously sort of the most obvious one, but it sort of depends on who goes on loan. At the moment, Omari Kellyman's not gone on loan. He looks a really naturally gifted player.
He's very talented.
He's given me the same vibe as Carney Chukwuemeka in the sense, like at his age, he looked like you just know he's going to make it. Chukwuemeka's obviously gone on his own direction, and it's maybe it'll work out for him eventually, but it's not one I think I would have thought a lot of people in football would have recommended going to Chelsea, considering their track record with youth players. But I do think Kellyman looks like he's just a naturally very intelligent player, very gifted. But, because Jaden Philogene seems a bit obvious, I'm actually going to go Cameron Archer, just because I think he is going to get a fair amount of game time if he stays at the club and doesn't end up going on loan. And also, I think that, he had a slightly underwhelming pre-season, fine, but he won the Euros with England, so brilliant. But also, I think once he gets his first goal for Villa, I think that would be the moment for him. I think he'll just go up a level. And it's the same as Ramsey when he played against Arsenal a few years ago.
I completely agree.
Got his goal, went up a level. And I think there were a couple of moments in pre-season where he actually was making really clever runs, getting into the right position. He took on 3 players against Valencia, got a shot away. Shows that he can cause trouble for, very good defence. It's shown before he can do it in the Championship at least. So I think that if he gets one goal quite early on at Villa, as a player who comes on for 20, 15 minutes a game, not somebody who plays Ollie Watkins' lead role just yet, but somebody who maybe just comes on as a bit of a backup striker. I think once he gets one goal, he could end up, getting quite a few. So, I'm going to say Cameron Archer does it this year, and I really hope he does.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout with Archer. I mean, too many people reading into preseason, unfortunately. Erling Haaland didn't score in preseason. Does that mean he's not going to score any goals in the Premier League? No. So I think it is a big season for him. And given the fact that at the moment we haven't signed another striker to rival Watkins, you would think, as you say, Frankie, that he will get a lot of minutes and an opportunity to impress in the league. So he's certainly one to keep an eye on. But I think Philogene, he's played so many minutes in pre-season. He has impressed. He offers something a bit different. He's got that sort of pace we've been missing. He's not afraid to try one-on-ones. He's quite an aggressive player. As I mentioned, linked with Liverpool. So, big clubs clearly are interested in terms of what he can achieve. And actually, someone who's kind of fell off the radar in terms of kind of like one of those players to look at. We were all looking at Archer. We were all looking at maybe Irogbenham at QPR, and then Philogene goes to Cardiff. And Cardiff struggled. They had a difficult season. But by all accounts, he did okay there. Got a few goals, a few assists, and playing in a very competitive league very regularly, despite the fact that they changed managers midway through the season as well. So, he's come back. He's done the business in pre-season. He's playing in a position where we don't have a lot of strength and depth on the wings. And Emery himself seems to, from what his comments are, he seems to be quite keen to keep him around. And arguably, he might even get a start against Newcastle based on how he's been playing in pre-season. So, definitely one to keep an eye on. But certainly, as you say, Archer, those two are going to be the ones to watch. But there might be another surprise, as you say, with Kellyman as well. So who knows? But
Irogbenham as well. If Irogbenham sticks around, I back it. If he does stick around, I think we'll go on loan. But if he sticks around, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a really strong performance here and there as well.
Absolutely. And, just as another point, Aaron Ramsey looks like he's heading out the door to Burnley. There are reports that, there's a buyback clause inserted. So it essentially feels a bit like a glorified loan, that if he does really well for Burnley, then, potentially we can bring him back. But with him gone, it just means it opens the door for other young players who are around. Philogene or Archer could be those two. But I think Philogene for me seems to be one to certainly keep an eye on this season. So we move on to our next question. Top goal scorer. That's probably a fairly straightforward one, would you assume, Frankie?
Yeah, it's got to be Duran, really.
Robin Olsen.
I'm going to say Ollie Watkins hits 20 Premier League goals this season. I think
Well,
that has to be his target, and I think he's looking sharp in pre-season. Obviously, you can't read too much into pre-season, as we've said, but the way he played last season under Emery, got so many goals, came alive. I'm going to say that he has to target 20 goals this season because he can do that, and I think that is what will guarantee him his place in the England team.
Yeah, I mean, this is different from the question last season where we were debating whether it was going to be Watkins or Ings. Do you remember? But yeah, no, definitely Ollie Watkins. He seems to be on penalty duty as well. That's probably an area of his game he probably needs to improve. I never feel like he's nailed on to score penalties, but I assume if he's playing, he will be our penalty taker. He has scored them. He knows how to do it. But if he can achieve a bit more consistency from the penalty spot, then that would obviously improve his numbers. And targeting an England breakthrough and trying to challenge Harry Kane for that number 9 slot with England. I mean, that will be a huge challenge for him. But I mean, that's
how many is he going to get, George? Say a number.
I will say he will get just shy of 20, but I think that's more down to the fact that I think Emery would want more contributions from other players.
Okay.
So I think maybe around the sort of 17, 18, 19.
I'm going to say 21.
21. Okay. And first game of the season, as we mentioned, is Newcastle. It's a tricky one. Obviously, they are a side who will be targeting Champions League football too. So how will we line up?
It's interesting because the tactics slightly tweaked in pre-season where it went to 3 centre-backs and a full-back, and the full-back bombed on when we were in possession. But then it was in the second half against Valencia, we went to, I think it was Dean and Cash, a left and right back, just because Torres and Bailey hadn't really worked together on the left, even though I think Torres actually can play out as a left back, and I think we'll actually be quite good at it. So I'm going to say we maybe go slightly conservative and sort of play a little bit more like we did last season, and then against Everton at home, we maybe try and do the 3 at the back thing a little bit more than we might against Newcastle. So I'm going to say we're going to start with Dean and Cash and Concert and Mings, the regular centre backs, Emi Martinez, Douglas Luiz, Boubacar Kamara. Buendia has to start on the left, really. Bailey didn't show it really on that side. And McGinn, and then Diaby and Ollie Watkins.
That's exactly my lineup as well, Frankie. Yeah. So there we are. We sped through that. There we go. Obviously, I think if Moreno was fit, then I would probably have Moreno left back, but obviously he's not. So
and then I'd shove Concert to right, and I'd put Pau Torres in, and then you'd have the 3 centre backs, and Alex Moreno would be the player who runs on. That's what I think would happen.
Very good. Welcome back, everybody. So we've discussed the Villa in fine detail, but we're going to talk about the rest of the league now. There's going to be some ropey predictions here, I'm sure. So, Frankie, first things first, who do you think is going to win the league this year?
Ooh, Man City. Just too far ahead, too good. I don't think anyone's catching them. No way.
Yep. Unfortunately, I can't really add to that. Really, I think they've got the best striker in the league. They've signed Gvardiol, who's one of the best defenders in Europe now. I mean, as you say, Grealish is on fire. So I think no question. I think Man City will win.
I think the only question mark slightly is Riyad Mahrez was actually quite a useful impact player for them and did get quite a lot of useful goals. And I think as an option, not having him on the right is actually a bit of a loss for them, even though they're still so good. I think Cole Palmer might step up. You saw that goal against Arsenal. I think you might see a bit of that this season. Bernardo Silva out that side as well quite a bit. So I think, yes, I City will miss Mahrez, I think, in some games, but ultimately they're too strong.
Yeah, I don't think they will steamroller the league. But I do think, as you say, they're too strong. I think across the board, they've got the manager, they've got the infrastructure, they've got the starting 11, they've got the bench, they've got the youth players, they've got everything. So
they got the nation state.
Yep. So Man City to win the league. Top goal scorer.
Erling Haaland again.
Yeah, well, particularly if Kane goes to Bayern, then yes, for sure.
Actually, something I would say as well is that I think that City's main competitors they've strengthened, but they've missed out like key roles. Like if Man United had just got Harry Kane, along with the other signings they've made, I think they could challenge City. And the same with Arsenal. It's like I think Arsenal got Rice, Timber, Havertz. I think they're all, Rice particularly fantastic signing, but the striker. They don't have a good enough depth up front. So I just think that's going to cost competition. And Liverpool, I think, maybe defensively still not a bit suspect. But top scorer, Erling Haaland, yeah. I think he's going to hit 40 Premier League goals this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with you, absolutely. And I think that's a very good point. There's no one really in the top four who have signed, a guaranteed goal scorer, as far as I can see. I know Man United have spent a bit of money on the lad from Atalanta, but there's no guarantee that will pay off. So yeah, particularly in the way that Erling Haaland has. So yeah, I think Haaland again will top the charts. Relegated, Frankie, who's going to go down?
Relegated. This is tough now, actually.
It is tough. It is tough.
I mean,
I saw this
season,
question. I think it's going to be super competitive again.
Didn't I predict Brentford last season?
You did, Frankie. Yeah, you did.
I thought second season syndrome would hit them, but no, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that I think Sheffield United look like absolute dead certs to potentially do a derby. I have absolutely no idea what on earth is going on there with them selling their main creative players. They don't seem to really be signing anybody. Absolutely bizarre. So I'd love to speak to a Sheffield fan, just about it, because I really don't understand what the approach is this season for them. But I don't think they'll do as bad as Derby, because I think Bramall Lane is a tough place to go, and they're a solid enough outfit that they'll get points. But I think they'll go down, and I think they'll probably the first manager sacked to be theirs, Heckingbottom, I think it is. And so I go Sheffield United. I think I'm sort of tempted to say Luton actually get enough results at home in an intimidating little ground and atmosphere and big physical side, maybe do a bit of a Stoke City. And I think that I could see that happening. I think they might stay up. But I think I'm just going to go a bit conservative and say they do go down and maybe just don't quite have enough to stay up. So that's two of the promoted sides I've gone with. And normally they've tended to stay up in recent years, or a few of them have. And then I'm going to go, the temptation is Wolves, considering they're losing the manager by the looks of it, Lopetegui. As of recording, it looks like they're in discussions to leave. They're selling their players, and other teams that do that. Southampton last season, Leicester did it, Villa did it a few years ago, Stoke did it, and you don't replace them, you always pay a price. But I actually think they still actually have a solid enough team that with the manager who can maybe just eke out results, they'll do it. They'll be all right, just about. So I'm going to say actually Fulham. Even though I think they have a very good manager in Marcus Silva, I think losing Mitrovic is quite a big loss for them, and I'm not really sure about where they get all their goals from. So yeah, I'm probably going to go with them again. But also, I don't know how Forest are going to do this year, but I think they'll just probably do similar to last season. So yeah, that's my three to go down.
Very good. Yeah, I think, as I said before, I think it's going to be so competitive. I count about 10 teams that could be in and around it. And I would actually include Brentford in that, because although they've got a fantastic manager, there's no Tony, and David Raya is on his way out, who arguably would be their two best players last season. So I think, considering how well they did last year, I don't think they'll achieve the same again. I don't think they'll go down, but I do think that they'll be towards the bottom end of the table. I think Bournemouth could struggle. Dominic Solanke has been linked with a move to West Ham. They obviously made the strange decision to get rid of Gary O'Neill, who looks like he's going to take over at Wolves. They've
got quite an exciting manager, though.
They do, yeah. But unproven, and I think Bournemouth, they're one of those teams that will always struggle to attract players.
Yeah.
So I think Bournemouth can struggle. I don't think they'll go down. I think I should probably talk about the teams I do think will go down, as that is the question. I agree with you, Sheffield United. I don't know what they're doing. As you say, Sander Berge looks like he's off to Burnley. Another
player you wanted at Villa. I remember, George. You
were hyping
him.
He's a very good player. And yeah, it seems like a strange one. I mean, I'm not a Sheffield United fan. I don't know how well he did last season, I'll be honest, but he always came across as a player that was kind of one of their sort of key ones. So yeah, I don't think they've strengthened enough. So I think Sheffield United will go. I do think Wolves will go. I think Lopetegui was a good enough manager that might have helped them, but the fact that they're letting their key players go and they've lost Lopetegui now, I think Wolves will go. And I think the third team to go will be, just to be different, I will say Bournemouth. I think Luton might have enough to sort of scrap their way to, 17th or 16th. But so I think I'm going to go Bournemouth, West Ham, Wolves to go down.
West Ham.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the table as it stands now. It's in alphabetical order. So no, obviously Wolves, Sheffield United, and Bournemouth to go down.
Okay.
So okay, from the bottom to the top. So top 4, Frankie.
I guess it should be top 5 this year, really. But,
yeah.
So, yeah. I'll go.
Well, we know who's 5th.
Yeah.
So top 4.
I'm going to say City 1, Man United 2, Arsenal 3, Liverpool 4.
Okay.
Chelsea 5.
Yeah.
Just about Chelsea. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go Man City. Yeah, Man City definitely. I'll go Arsenal 2nd again.
Okay.
I'll go United 3rd, and Liverpool 4th, and Villa
5th. Yes. All right, I like the optimism, George.
There you go. Got to be optimistic. And finally, the maddest event of the year, and in a a day and age where crazy things are happening in football every single week, it seems. What do you think is going to be the maddest event of the year, Frankie?
Well, 2 seasons ago, I predicted Blues would accidentally demolish their own stadium. Last season, I predicted that Blues would get taken over by Lawrence Bassini and move to Scotland. This season, the maddest thing's already happened, that Tom Brady was in a Birmingham
I know,
City
exactly.
shirt.
That is completely mental.
But I'm going to say that Tom Brady, in a moment of true inspiration, decides that Birmingham City isn't like it's not a popular enough name in the US. So he's going to rename Birmingham City the Brady Bunch. That's my prediction.
Brady Bunch. They're very nice. I think Richard Branson will try and project a football match on the surface of the moon.
Okay,
that will be the maddest event of the year. He'll come in and just say, you know what, we don't see enough lunar football.
Yeah.
And then he'll get a big projector and just shine it at the moon, and we'll see Liverpool v Man United or whatever, just on the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
We all look up.
Lovely stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to think anything else mad that could happen.
I think there'll be another kind of crazy takeover, or there'll be another kind of like crazy celeb sponsored take. Do you know what I mean? Like basically the kind of welcome to Wrexham thing has taken off and been so successful that I think you'll just see more celebs basically getting involved in football in some capacity.
Kim Kardashian in a Villa shirt. Welcome to Villa, Kim.
Yeah, exactly. So, it'll be something like that. I just don't know which celeb and which club. It'd be great if like another kind of major celebrity got involved in like a smaller club. So I don't know, like Carlisle United and Kanye West.
No, not Kanye, but actually, Kim Kardashian takes over Carlisle and renames it Kardashian. Cardile, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Something like that. There'll be maybe a famous person getting investing in Oldham or something.
Yeah,
that'll be mad. So there we are, Frankie. I look forward to those predictions being wildly wrong in May.
Very wrong.
Very wrong, completely wrong. But I hope you enjoyed the show, everybody, for listening. Thank you once again. Of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please, like us on Spotify and all the rest of it. We're there. So please keep going to us. And I've been your host, George Zielinski. Frank, I will catch you later.
See you in a bit, George, and congratulations on the big wedding. Fantastic day, fantastic people.
Thank you very much, Frankie. All I need is Unai to get us into Champions League next season, and my year will be complete. And it is goodbye for me too. We'll be back again soon, but until then, come on, Super Aston Villa.